Welcome to the Windy City's finest, On Location with Mac and Perry. I'm Perry, he's Mac, and this is...
Katt.
Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us and talk. I'm super excited to be in your space. It's all pink. I love it. And yeah, I'm super excited to be doing this first segment with you, just to get to know you a little bit more. So the first thing we usually do is just a little bit of trivia, just because we are on location here in Lethbridge. And so yeah, I'll just dive into the first question, if that's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
The stakes have never been lower. But our first question is, approximately, how many days of sunshine does Lethbridge receive per year?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
A, 300, B, 320, C, 288, or D, 365?
288.
Oh, not quite.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is according to Google, so who knows how accurate. But 320, if you
Really?
Google it. Yeah, it
Wow.
doesn't always feel like it.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I think let's move swiftly along to our this or that game.
Right.
So yeah, it'll just be simple questions of like this or that. And then we'll talk about it.
All right.
Potentially. Would you do the honors of going
So
first?
I don't look, right? I just take it?
It'll be
Okay.
random.
I think I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Do I read it out?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. Spotlight or spectator?
Ooh. So are you typically the kind of person to like be in the spotlight, or are you typically the person that'll be like spectating, like you prefer to watch?
Oh, I feel like especially with my work, definitely spectator.
Yeah.
Because you're always kind of observing, right? So I
mhm.
definitely would say spectator.
Yeah.
But then I know that people would argue, say, oh, spotlight because of your hair and
Interesting.
eccentricity.
Right.
I'm like, no, definitely spectator.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think when did that start, do you think?
Like just being a spectator?
Yeah, like has it always just been from work, or has that been like something that you can recall, like since you were a kid, you were always like the quiet observing one?
I've always been more of a quiet person.
Yeah.
Definitely reserved, a little more of an introvert. So I guess, yeah, that in that aspect, yes. And I don't think I ever really wanted to be like in the spotlight per se.
Right.
But with my line of work too, you're always you always have a client or a cast member you're looking after, and you want to make them look their best or whatever they have to look like, right? So you're kind of a spectator in that sense too, because it's all about them and what they look like. So constantly just like, monitoring and creating and stuff, but it's for somebody else to look a certain way. So definitely, I think my job really aligned with that.
Yeah,
So.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we'll do one more of these.
Okay.
And then we'll move swiftly along. Stick or automatic?
Automatic. No,
Have you ever driven stick?
I drove. Okay, my aunt tried to teach me one time, and it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life.
Oh,
It
no.
was very embarrassing. But I've always wanted to, because like one of my dreams, one day is to have a vintage bug,
Right.
and they're all sticks. So I do have to learn. But at this point, automatic.
Yeah, for simplicity's sake.
Yes.
Automatic. That's cool though about the bug. So you have a love for bugs?
I love VW bugs. Ever since I was a kid, that's been my dream car. Everyone's like, oh, I really want a Maserati or a Corvette. I'm like, no, I just want a bug. Like an old bug, like a 60s bug. That's always been the dream. So, yeah. And they're all sticks. So, and even all the old, nice vintage cars are usually sticks.
Totally.
So, it's going to be something I'm going to have to learn eventually if that's my dream. So
yeah, absolutely. You'll set a deadline at some point and you'll wait till the last moment.
Yeah.
But you'll get it done. You'll
maybe
learn
retirement? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, we'll move swiftly along to our tumbling towers here. And yeah, each block corresponds to a question. I'll let you do the honors. Do you know the rules of tumbling towers?
Yes. You just make sure it doesn't fall, right?
Doesn't fall,
pick one.
and then you can't pick any of the top 3 layers.
Oh, that makes it way harder.
I know.
Okay. No wonder I was so good at this when I was a kid.
Right.
Okay, so I just start?
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay. Okay. Let me see here. I might have to reach around. Do I got it? Okay.
You got it.
Do I put it on top?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. Ew.
And what question was that?
29.
What's a song you could listen to on repeat?
Oh, that's so tough.
I know. Whenever I think about these things, it goes straight out of my brain. But yeah.
Oh, and it's like, I don't want to say what immediately comes to mind because it's like kind of embarrassing.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? It's probably like Boney M, like a disco song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like when I'm like bored, I'll like put on like Daddy Cool by Boney M, and I'll like this is one song I can listen to on because it's like I think it has 3 lyrics the whole song,
Right.
and it just has like a really good like sound.
Tempo.
Yeah, so you just
yeah,
drive
rhythm.
and you'll be listening to it for 3 hours. Like, oh, I listened to that song for 3 hours. Didn't even know because it's got 3 lyrics.
3 lyrics. Just
Yeah.
on repeat. And it's kind of like meditative, it sounds like. It's kind of like a
Yeah,
meditative
but
thing.
it's like happy, and it's
Yeah.
like there's no real substance to it. It's just
Right.
got a good groove, and it puts you in a good mood.
Mhm. Hey, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with this one just because it almost came out. Anyway.
Ooh.
Yeah. Number 3 is what is your favorite film?
Oh
If any,
my
come
goodness.
to mind.
That is so tough. I have so many. And I hate to say it, but most of them are horror movies.
That's totally fair. Totally fair.
Oh gosh, there's so many. I wish I could just narrow it down to one. But one of my favorites is, and it's been my favorite since like I was a kid. It's probably I think it's 1976 Carrie.
Okay.
It's Stephen King's Carrie. Only because that was one of the first horror movies my mom actually allowed me to watch. I still watched them beforehand, but that was the one that she and I watched together. And I was petrified, like so scared. And I loved everything. And I think I loved it because I knew how much my mom was scared of it. So watching it together, that memory was just this core memory that was fused. And even when I'm like just chilling, and if I see that the original Carrie's on like, a streaming platform, I will turn it on, just listen to his background music, even though it's very horrific. Like it's not a nice movie. And I read the book because I love Stephen King as like an author.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just one movie I'll like turn on. It has these weird warm fuzzies because of the memories that movie has for me. But yeah, I know it's probably not everyone's cup of tea.
Hey, that's totally fair. But I hopefully people have that in common in that they have a shared memory with a loved one, regardless of what the movie or inspiration for it was. I think that's beautiful.
Oh yeah. I mean, as beautiful as like loving a terrible horror movie, or a very morbid horror movie can be. But yeah,
absolutely. Nice. Well, I think that is all the time. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you about these things. I could keep going, but I think that's all the time we have for this segment. So we'll wrap up. And yeah, this has been the Windy City's Finest on location with Mac and Perry. I'm Perry, he's Mac, and this has been
Katt.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Windy City's Finest on location with Mac and Perry. I'm Mac, he's Perry, and this is
Katt.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining me, Katt, to chat. We just had a section with Perry, and we were playing some games. We learned all about you, and we did not tumble the towers, so it was good.
No, we did not. I thought we were going to. Well, I thought I was going to, but
You didn't. I'm
Yay.
Very, very excited. Yeah. And you can't really see this on the camera, but this is like the lowest couch that I've ever been in. It is super low, and that's okay. It's fun.
Is this the oldest couch you've ever been in?
No, it's not.
Really?
I don't know.
Oh,
I feel like I've been in some old couches.
Oh, well,
How old is this couch?
this is from the 60s, I believe. Yeah, it's the original, like the original everything still. Hence why it's a little beaten up.
It's great. It's lovely. Yeah. It's very much in with your brand, your look. It's great. Yeah. Anyways, enough about the couch. We're here to learn about your work, your craft, your art. And you are a makeup artist, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do makeup for a living. As much as like it sounds like it doesn't exist, it does. I promise.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that. Tell me about your makeup work generally.
All right. So, I mean, like when you're a makeup artist, there's a lot of the avenues you can go down. For me personally, I do a lot of film work, a lot of makeup film work, which includes getting people camera ready, as also some out of kit effects, some special effects, applying and painting prosthetics. And then also I do run a freelance business on the side of that, which is like just bridal makeup, event makeup, Halloween makeup, makeup lessons, everything makeup related that isn't on the film set. I do, kind of on my own. So
Nice, yeah. And did one start before the other? Were you doing more of just the conventional makeup first? Or?
Oh man, to kind of answer that, I have to go back a bit. I'll try to keep it short, but you kind of have to have the side hustle in order to fuel the big dream, and the big dream is film, right? For a lot of film makeup artists, but a lot of people, you can't just like hop right into it and survive financially. So you do have to have that side hustle as a freelancer, picking up anything you can, whether it's like you're part of a team of bridal makeup artists, or if you're a counter artist and you're working at Mac Counter or like a beauty counter. So definitely, like, the dream was always to work in film, but that byproduct of that, I guess, in order for me to survive, I had to start the freelance. So they both started at the same time, but they both had to keep me afloat, basically. So yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm curious to go back even just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, kind of what first interested you in doing makeup?
Whew. Well, to kind of like, I know we touched a little bit on the topics of like kind of my interest back when we were doing the questions. But when I was a kid, I was obsessed with scary shows, like horror movies, scary shows like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and stuff. And I think that's where kind of the idea of like monster makeup and practical effects really wowed me. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. And then growing into like my teenage years where I exclusively just watched horror movies, and I was really into like just the gross stuff, that I thought that was amazing. And I always thought it'd be really cool to recreate that. And then I started down a different path where actually I was doing a lot of sewing and tailoring, and I wanted to be a costume designer. So I went down that route, and it just really something wasn't hitting right. Like I was really struggling through my degree. Meanwhile, to put myself through the degree of costume design, I was actually doing makeup for bridal and events and Halloween makeup. And then something clicked where I was like, maybe I'm chasing the wrong hobby to make money at. So then I switched gears. I went to school for makeup, and I was like, I just want to make monsters for a living, and that's, what I wanted to do. And then as I was going to school for makeup, I was doing bridal makeup and a lot of fashion show makeup, photo shoot makeup, beauty makeup, essentially. And that was paying my way through makeup school, as well as, being a bartender. And then I realized, okay, well, a lot of my strengths are in that beauty realm. And then talking to other makeup artists who've been doing this for millions of years, they were saying you can be interested in do special effects and like the more lab work and like the sculpting and things. But if you really want to launch yourself and make money and get more jobs and be more accessible, you're going to have to be really good at that more, the more accessible makeup, the makeup that is in demand, which is camera ready makeup, beauty makeup, corrective makeup. And that's predominantly what I do now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't know a lot about that, the field itself. That's why I'm chatting with you. But yeah, that would make sense that not every film is going to have these big prosthetics, or unless you're only doing horror films or something. And yeah, you kind of have to take the gigs that come, right? And
that's the thing, is that we don't really get to choose the gigs, like especially in Alberta, a lot of our gigs are actually Westerns. Because we are in Cowtown, right? And we have a lot of pre-built Western towns in and around middle Alberta, around Calgary. So we have a lot of these Western shows that flock here, and they reoccur here. And when you're doing Western makeup, there's a lot of there's a little bit of blood or this, that. And unless you're on an actual effects team or on the main team, the biggest bread and butter for that job is just making people look dirty. It's just dirt, makeup, and sweat.
I'm really curious to learn about kind of your path there. So you talked about the beginnings, and I'm curious, like you said, you always had like a love of film and you wanted to work in film, and you're doing that kind of side by side with your other work. But what was kind of that first step towards actually working in film? What was that like for you?
Oh, the first step was actually, when I was in makeup school, I remember my blinders were on, and no matter what people were telling me, I was like, no, I'm going to work in film. I'm going to work in film. I'm going to work in film. So my school, John Casablancas, was actually basically a block away from VFS, which is Vancouver Film School. So they would often, but this is before Vancouver Film School really had a big notorious makeup program. So they would often come to our school and ask our students to be a part of their final showcase, where they would like make their, student films. So this one came, and I remember as soon as that person walked through the door and they're like, hey, we're looking for a makeup artist for our student film, I immediately raised my hand. I'm like, I'm going to key it, or head of department it. So I realized, that's kind of our jargon. I'll be the head of department, and I'm going to run that whole team, because it was a feature film. So it was 3 weeks of filming. And then I had no idea what I was doing. Literally, like, just launched myself in, had no experience, and I got the script, and I'm like, I'm going to make this the best film ever, and I'm going to not make any mistakes, and, I'm going to put my heart and soul into this. Yeah, I was so new. But it was great. It was great. And I remember even like my classmates who were on my team with me, they were like, wow, you're really passionate about this. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to run a team. I want to be the head department for a show, So that was 15 years ago.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Did you make any mistakes on that?
Oh,
project?
plenty.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't even know if I want to watch that film if I ever do come across it because of how, and I mean, it's a student film, so everybody was learning. And, I don't even recognize the person I was back then, just with like, not saying that I'm so much better, but I just know so much more and have so much more experience in work and in life and how to run a team and management skills, like the things that you kind of develop and, you really hone in on as you just get older as a person. Cause 15 years ago, like that was like a lifetime ago, but made plenty of mistakes, but that's how you learn.
Not many people are employed as makeup artists on film sets, right? That's not a very common thing. When you go to a party and you meet someone, it's like, what do you do? Do you ever have interesting reactions from people when they find out what you do for your work?
Yeah, actually, sometimes if I'm around people I don't know, I don't even tell them what I do. I just say like, I'm an accountant, or I work at a grocery store, because it could be a lot. Or I'll calmly just say I'm an esthetician, because then they kind of know like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I just do like beauty services, because it could be a lot. It can be a lot, especially if you don't know people and they're like, well, have you worked on anything I know about? And you're like, oh, I can't talk about it. Right? So there's that too. So sometimes if it's my close friends, they all know the ins and outs, like what I work on, what I'm doing right now, and these and that and that. But if it's people I don't know, typically I'll just be like, I'm an esthetician, or I'm a freelancer. And they're like, well, freelance and what? Well, I do beauty services. And then that kind of, because it could be a lot, and sometimes you just don't want to get into the nitty gritty because you can't, we're under NDAs and stuff, right? So
I'm just so curious about that, like, the film scene in Alberta, Southern Alberta generally. I know there's a lot of, as you mentioned, cowboy films and stuff. Yeah, what's that been like to like, okay, I live in Alberta, but yeah, you're working on these sometimes bigger films. Yeah, what's that like?
Well, it's kind of funny because at first, when I moved back here, I didn't think I was going to stay. I thought I was going to go back to Vancouver, because Vancouver, especially back then, had this idea that was LA in Canada, right? That's where everything goes to film, whether it's that or Toronto or Montreal, But now, well, when I moved back, I realized like, oh, actually things are being filmed here. And now, just for the record, Alberta is Alberta is the one province that holds the most, or has had the most award-winning films shot here. So out of all the provinces in Canada, we've had the most like Oscar and Emmy award-winning shows shot here. Like if you think like I didn't work on these, by the way, but like you're thinking of like Interstellar, you're thinking of Inception, you're thinking of like The Assassination of Jesse James, like all those westerns, right? Brokeback Mountain, yes. Like all of those that are super huge in the award scene, they're all shot here. And I'm just listing a few, right? Our crew is actually known for being one of the best, as well as like one of the hardest working. And because we can work, and we are able to work in like the -40s as well as the +40s, where we can drive. And I'm just like thinking, or I'm just kind of like saying, like we have the amenities as well. Like we have a lot of people who drive, cars that can like, we can go through snowstorms, or we're not afraid to have to go and, drive our cars in blizzards, because we do it all the time because we live in Alberta. Things like that, where people will say like, wow, we really didn't think we were going to be able to shoot today on time, but the whole crew just showed up. And we're like, yeah, because, we're from Alberta, we cowboy up, as they say, and we get the job done. So it's we're all very proud in Alberta, like and I'm not saying Alberta's perfect by any means, but we're all very proud to have our film industry here, and it's like one of the best crews around, and we're always willing to get like the job done no matter what is in our way. So
that's great.
And it's what we're known for.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I think I mean, it might be specific to where you live, but I think there's just that impulse when you're working in, let's say, film, to say, I have to go to the Vancouver, I have to go to the LAs, places like that. So how do you feel about that? Like, obviously you moved back, so like, are you glad that you stayed here?
I'm so happy I stayed here, because it's easier to live, I think. Just in my experience, it was easier to live here because I had family ties, obviously, but also just like the cost of living was cheaper. The easier to have a car, drive around, personally for me. But also just, I found that because Alberta is my home, coming here was like coming home. So I just I knew the groundwork better and stuff. And I found that it was easier for me to network. And I'm not saying anything bad about Vancouver. I loved living there. It was just far too expensive. But yeah, even people who do come here from Vancouver, Toronto, wherever, they're like, wow, this is actually it's nice here, and people are actually nice, and they're like, yeah, we are nice. Like, why you guys all work real hard? Like, of course we work real hard. You know, we're from here. We're from Cowboy Town and stuff, and it's, you know, we aren't afraid to get our hands dirty, and you know, and we, I think that just with, especially since having The Last of Us recently, coming here and filming for the year it did, and having like, so it was just so notable. Everybody was like, oh, like, look at Alberta's landscapes and this and that and that. And, you know, now we have like, we're just known for being a big film hub, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's no reason to go anywhere else.
If you had like a dream project that you could work on, if you're just like Tim Burton shows up or whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
what would be like a dream project, just out of a fantasy that you'd love to work on?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, whew, I love working on horror movies. That's like my dream. And I've done quite a few like indie horror movies, and they're always my favorite. But what was one? Oh, there was one where I was like, that would be my dream. Oh, well, to work on Outlander, obviously, would be one of my favorites. Not necessarily just because of makeup, but because I love Outlander, and I love the books, and I love the show and everything about it. So that'd be always a dream. But also if there was like horror movies, anything that like, yeah, like American Horror Story, I've always loved that show. And if there was ever a chance I could like even just kind of be on it, I'd be like, pick me please, I want to be on it. So I think kind of like that are always my favorite. Something that's kind of like more niche. But yeah, I think it's, I don't know if that answers your question. I could go on and on and on. I'm like, I'd love to work on this show and this show and this show.
Yeah, no,
But you know,
that's great. Yeah. And then of course, the last question we always ask people is how your artist changed you. So yeah, how has being a makeup artist kind of changed you as a person?
oh, well, and you know, I wish I had like this really profound thing like this art or makeup opened up my soul and da 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 da. But I feel like as a person, I've always really known who I was, and I was always really in tune with myself. But doing makeup, because makeup is so collaborative, and it is so, you know, when you're doing makeup, you're doing makeup on someone else. They're your canvas. So it has helped me, not, how do I put this without making it sound so, it's helped me appreciate the human connection, basically, because our canvas is a living person, and you're working with them. So it's like helped me on the collaborative aspect. Being like, when I was doing more visual art, it was very solo, right? I'm working on a canvas, or I'm, you know, building this thing that's all on my own, and that's that. But when I'm working with someone else, on someone else, or, you know, I'm working with a team, it's so, being a makeup artist is so collaborative. And if you're just this one artist, like say you're a portfolio artist or you're a photo shoot artist and you're just doing makeup on a model and it's just your vision coming to life, that's one thing, but you're still talking to that model. Like, does this feel okay? Are you comfortable? Does this burn? Do you have any allergies? You know, do you feel safe? Like, it's still so collaborative in that way. And you have to really hone in and tune in on like how to read people and how to read if, like, you know, if they're feeling insecure. Because a lot of the times too, and like anybody in the beauty industry or in the personal service industry will tell you, we are like, our service or whatever we do is first, but then our secondary is we're a therapist. Because as soon as somebody sits in our chair, whether it's an actor, a client, or whichever, if they're having a bad day, we will be the first to know. And I've listened to people tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. I've listened to people, like, you know, have their best moments in my chair where they're talking to their families on their phone and they're crying because somebody got engaged and they're so happy. And then I've also witnessed, you know, some really tough times. And I've shared with them, and then they've hugged me after and like, thank you for being there for me. And working so close to people all day long, you do build these connections with people. So I think like that's how makeup artistry has changed me as a person. Not so much the art, but just in the form of human connection. So
lovely. That's a lovely answer. Yeah. Well, I think that's all the time we have for the segment, even though I could ask many more questions. Yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me, Katt.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been the Windy City's Finest On Location with Mac and Perry. I'm Mac, he's Perry, and this is...
I'm Katt.
We will be right back.
Welcome once again to the Windy City's Finest On Location with Mac and Perry. I'm Perry, he's Mac, and this is...
I'm Katt.
And I'm super excited to dive into our showcase segment with you, Kat. And yeah, we have some lovely pictures here to go through. And I'm super curious to see what they're about and the story behind them. So we have one right here. And I believe this was from your Instagram, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what is the story behind this? Let's start super broad strokes. What's the story behind
Well,
this
actually,
one?
this is funny. This is actually my final school project
Okay.
in makeup school, where you're supposed to sculpt. First, we face casted our model, then we sculpted our prosthetic for the face, and then bald capped them. So this was a good friend of mine named Amber, and so I bald capped her. I created these tentacles into like a mohawk with starfishes and shells, turning her into like a sea monster with a mohawk because I thought that was really cool. And it's fun because I do love this project. It's 15 years old now, but I still love looking at the photos of this. As like a brand new makeup artist who's never done this before, I was really proud of this work and still am proud of it. There's obviously a lot of things I would have done different, but it's still one of my favorite makeups to date. So I think it's always worth showing off.
Yeah, absolutely. And like in your segment with Mac there, talking about growth after 15 years, and so, but it's awesome that you can look back on that early work and feel pride in what you were able to achieve at that time. That's awesome. And for people that don't know, you said the first step was what again? What did you do?
Face casting.
Face casting. What is that for people that don't know?
So it's kind of, I don't want to say it's going to be out of date soon, but now with the technology of 3D printing, I think that face casting is eventually going to be something we don't do anymore. But face casting is when you have your model or your client or whatever, and you put alginate on their face. And that's kind of like they use it for also dental molds. It's it goes on liquid and then it kind of cures to a soft moldable but met solid mass. That basically it creates like a negative of all your features. So after you do that, then you throw gypsum bandages on top of that to create a great cast. Then you take it off their face, you pour cement in that to create the positive, and then you sculpt on that, and then you pour cement on top of that to create the mold.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big process. If anybody's watched Face Off, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
So it's a whole project.
And approximately, just because you mentioned the time span, like approximately from beginning to end, how long do you recall this?
4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours. It was a long time. I felt bad for her. She did endure quite a bit. And then the removal after that too takes about 45 to an hour because you've got all those layers to peel off and unadhere from the face. But she was a trooper. So yeah.
What is that process like, taking it away? Because it's like you spend 4 hours making the thing. Is it bittersweet, or is it like, let's get rid of it? Like, what's that like?
It's a little bit of both, because you're like, I just don't want to look at it anymore. I'm over looking at it. So there's a bit of like an emotional, because like you're usually like, I'm not happy with some things don't work out. So you're already feeling those emotions, like I just want to throw it all in the trash. And then there's some parts where you are proud of it and you're like, well, now it doesn't exist anymore, because you're literally taking it off and destroying it. It can never be redone exactly the way you did it. So, but yeah, so there definitely was parts of it where it's emotional, but then also I knew that with Amber, I was like, I did want to give her some relief, because wearing all that, and it was a gelatin prosthetic, so it was a heavier prosthetic on the face. It wasn't necessarily the most comfortable. And in makeup school, they did do gelatin prosthetics at that time because it was just cheaper, which is totally fine, because there was a lot of us, and a lot of mistakes were had. So you have to be able to start from scratch again. But yeah, it definitely wasn't the most comfortable thing for her to wear. And yeah, so I know I really wanted to get her out of it.
Nice. Well, we'll move swiftly along here to our second one. Gives me the shivers. What can you tell us about this one, Broad Strokes?
Well, actually, like, I wish I could tell you that this was from my own imagination, but this isn't. This is from a client. So this is a client request. So this was a Halloween client, and the reason why I'm able to kind of show these makeups is because they've given me the permission, right? And it's like I'm helping them tell their story. So with this client, it was for Halloween, and he worked at a haunt So he wanted to have a very great, like a really awesome effective makeup to scare people.
Mhm.
So I said, well, what do you want to look like? And he goes, I want no nose. I want a bulged out eye. I want this Joker grin. I want teeth. I want a split neck. And I want this like clown makeup. And he gave me all these things. And I had to marry it all together in a way that worked for him.
Yeah.
So this is a blend of like 7 different prosthetics that we got. So between the ears, there's 2 different brow bones. There's a chin appliance. There's a mouth appliance. There's a neck appliance. There's an eye appliance. So we did all that. Then we did the teeth. So it was very fun. And watching him move around was terrifying.
Yeah.
And he was a very effective haunter that night. And that's the fun thing too about being a freelancer is I do get these opportunities where the client comes to me with this crazy idea and my job is to make this happen within our budget, within our time, and have it work for them. So it gives you the opportunity to practice as well. Like, oh, I haven't worked with this style of blood before, but you know what? We have it. We're going to use it. We're going to see what it does. And like a lot of time now, like just from doing this for many years, a lot of my clients are return clients. So they work with me. They're like, let's do it. Or like, hey, I've got this new thing. Should we try it? And they're like, yeah, we want to try it. So they're on board too, which is great. And it makes for a very fun experience. And then I have really cool things to show. And then they have a really cool makeup they get to go and wear to a party or to Halloween or to whatever they're doing. Yeah. It's super fun. And it really does fill my cup, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Talking about being on board, I think our next one.
Oh, yeah.
Features somebody. What can you tell me about this piece?
All right, so going back to obviously the aquatic things and stuff and my fascination, and also my fascination with the Titanic, because I do have this absurd ever since I was a kid with sunken ships and Titanic and like everything. So this is one Halloween one year where I was like, my partner and I were gonna be sunken Titanic frozen ghosts. So I just made a bunch of like, and this is all the stuff that I just kind of had laying around. So I made the coral out of like modeling clay, and I stuck a bunch of like fake starfishes to our faces. And the thing about Halloween is that you are given that permission to go more theatrical, which a lot of times with film you can't because it's too much and it reads fake. But going with Halloween, you can be more theatrical, and that also exercises parts of your creative brain that you don't get to use that often. So you don't get rusty. And also it gives you creative juices when things do get thrown your way on film. Like, oh, well, we need this bruise to happen immediately. What do you have on you? It's like, well, I've got these 3 powders, but if I think about it, these are the bruise colors and they're powders, but they will work because I know what they do. So these are all like the skills that are kind of like exercised during these sorts of things. So it's kind of like just playing around and, but very fun. I had a great time. Him, not so much, because, pretty much makeup on, beards and stuff, I'm sure, not the greatest to take out at the end of the day,
For sure.
but very much fun. And it definitely was my favorite project for a month that I was working on it, just adding more frost, more dust, more sea creatures on icicles, and just a lot of fun.
And I do want to get to some of the other pieces before we run out of time, but what I think I'm hearing there is that idea of resourcefulness, and how you've kind of like harnessed that through practice and like through more creative projects, and that where you have permission to play and be creative allows you to practice that resourcefulness, which comes back when you are doing I don't know if simple is the right word, but like
more camera ready or corrective. And that's the thing is, you do build that resourcefulness too. You're like, well, I've got these products, but I know from being resourceful in the past, these will work. So I don't need to have 20 others and stuff. And also prevents you from buying a bajillion things you don't need because, like I said before, like, you don't get into this business to get rich. So to make that money, make that dollar stretch a bit further is always nice too. Right. So yeah.
Right on. I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more. I'm just going to find the mouse here and zip right over to here. Is there a specific one you would like to jump to, or should we start
any of them
here?
are good. Yeah.
Let's start with this one. What can you tell us?
This one actually means a lot to me. So this was actually when I was taking a class at our IATSE union office, which is the film union for Calgary. Or one of the film union jurisdictions. This is the Calgary office. And I was doing a class on, we were just doing all sorts of special effects. So this is me applying a bald cap actually to my mom. She was my model for that. And so when we do these classes, this is actually for all makeup artists in the industry to brush up on their skills and get like kind of some tips and tricks from very like amazing makeup artists who've been in the industry far longer than we have. And it's always great to kind of collaborate and just hear what they say too. And it was just a really fun day because we did 8 hours worth of makeup and we did everything under the sun, from like hair laying to corrective makeup to bruises to age spots and aging and bald caps. So yeah, very fun.
Very cool. We'll jump right along here to at least one more, but it sounds like kind of professional development,
Yes,
right?
and so important, so important. It's like I think, and any industry, it's important for professional development, but especially in these like kind of artist industries too, where we can really get in our heads.
I think that's a great note to end off on, just that idea of professional development and yeah, kind of not getting in our head too much about what we do and don't know, and just continue to play and learn and grow. So. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing these with me. I would love to keep going, but that's all the time we have right now. So yeah, this has been the Windy City's Finest on Location with Mac and Perry. I'm Perry, he's Mac, and this has been
Katt.
It's Mac and Perry in the place. Da-na-na-na. Mac and Perry
go live to create.
Da-na-na-na. Mac and Perry invite you to stay.